How many of the agreements you're currently honoring did you actually make as the person you are today? Not the formal ones. I don't mean the contracts or the commitments you signed with a pen. Those quiet ones, the ones made over a decade of showing up a certain way until everyone around you started planning their life around that version of you. The ones where nobody said the words out loud, but everybody understood the deal. You would be the one who doesn't ask for too much. Those agreements, the ones you made before you had the language or the self-concept to negotiate differently. Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding. Not a tactic, not a hustle. A clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises. Energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your Daily Power Boost. Welcome back to Daily Power Boost. Yesterday, we talked about the leadership you don't know you're modeling. This goes one layer further, because the people watching you aren't just learning from your state, they're also holding you to a version of yourself that may no longer exist. And the agreements that you made with them were signed by someone you've already outgrown. You've been growing. You know that. You can feel the distance between who you were 2 years ago and who you are now. What you're willing to tolerate has shifted, but the people around you are still operating with the old map. You can't blame them for it because you never announced the update. You just quietly became someone new while continuing to honor every agreement the old version of you made. That's the pattern. Growth doesn't just change you, it puts pressure on every unspoken contract you've ever entered. The family member who gets uncomfortable when you set a boundary because the old you never did. That person's not a villain. They're responding to the version of you that showed up reliably for years. They built their expectations around that person. That person is leaving slowly and quietly, and the agreements are straining under the weight of someone they were never built to hold. This is what makes it painful. The identity underneath those agreements was real. It wasn't fake or a performance. The you who said yes to everything genuinely believed that it was the right way to be in the world. The you who never asked for space genuinely didn't think you were allowed to. Those agreements are not manipulation, they were survival. Self-concept doing exactly what it was built to do. And that's exactly why they're so hard to renegotiate. You're not breaking a bad habit. You're breaking faith with a version of yourself that kept you safe. If that sentence just landed somewhere in your chest, stay with it. That tension is the sound of a contract tearing that was never supposed to be permanent. The agreements aren't the problem. The fact that they were written by someone who no longer exists is. You have a conversation you've been avoiding. I'm not talking about a blow up or some dramatic exit. Quiet, honest sentence. I can't keep showing up that way. The room gets still. The other person looks confused, maybe hurt even. You don't rush in to fix it because fixing it is what the old contract would require. You let the silence hold, feeling the grief of being someone who is disappointing a person you love. You haven't done something wrong. You've changed. The grief is real. It doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like loss. Below that is something you haven't felt in a long time. Room to breathe. Room to be in the relationship as the person you've become instead of the person they remember. That room cost you something. It cost you the comfort of being known. because the version of you they knew was predictable. The version of you that's emerging is probably not. And predictability is what most relationships are actually built on, even if no one says so. Which relationship in your life is still running on an agreement the current version of you would never have made? Don't rush past that one. If that question surfaced a specific tension you've been circling, that's the start of the work. An identity clarity call is where we can trace that tension back to the self-concept that created the contract in the first place. The link's in the show notes. Next episode, we go into the part nobody wants to talk about, the unfinished version of yourself, and why staying in process, incomplete, might be the most honest place you've ever led from. The agreements you made as someone else were never supposed to follow you here. You're allowed to let them end. With strength and heart, I'm Shawn Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.